So who am I? I am an assurance associate for RSM in the LA office. I began in November 2020. I graduated December 2019 from Cal State Long Beach. I haven't picked a specific industry to work in. I have about 2 years to, I guess, decide that. But so far, I've worked on a lot of consumer product clients, and our company offers, basically all the services. We're an international firm. Uh, yeah, they're just great. But I'm here to focus on you guys. So I'm going to start out with some pro tips and guidance. We're going to talk about, who are you and what that means in terms of networking, the basic networking strategy, how to respond and actually have a conversation, which I think a lot of presentations skip over, and just improving in general. So to move on, my pro tips: be intentional. We're in, I guess, we're kind of in a crunch. Students and like qualified individuals are, no matter what anybody else tells you, at a premium. You yourself, as an associate or as a worker or as an intern, you are valuable. And you can tell that just by the big four, all the middle tier firms reaching back. They're trying to get you as freshmen, you know? So don't sell yourself short. Don't think, oh, I can't do it because I'm a student, or I can't do it because I don't have experience in doing XYZ, or I didn't come from a company, or I didn't come from a family that has, accountants in the blood, or people who own stuff. Personally, I always thought, who am I? I grew up in South Central. I went to a shitty school. LUSD was probably the worst district I went to. And I thought, wow, as a gardener, how am I going to find an office job? You know, because gardening is fun, not to knock anything, but working outside 8 hours a day in the sun is not my ideal life, at least in the future. So as far as being intentional, set a date and time to improve. Make meetings, reach out on LinkedIn, do events like this, not just at your school, but at other schools. Join Alpha, join Beta Alpha Psi. They have different events that they open up to everybody, regardless of, I guess, your school or your creed or wherever you are. Next is we're going to be strategic. When you're speaking to people and you're networking, you're selling yourself as a worker. So you need to craft your message, build your brand, and find support. And what that means is your message is who you are, what kind of worker you're selling. Your brand is not just what you're saying, but what people say about you. Schools will reach out and ask people, especially alumni. They'll say, hey, this guy who's a senior now is saying he worked at Alpha. He did this on the board. He did this and this and like did a bunch of things. And they will verify sometimes if they have, people to say. And support, no matter who you are or where you're from, as long as you have someone backing you, that's what you want. And one of the things they don't tell you when you're recruiting is there's generally two types of people you meet. There are supporters and there's sponsors. Supporters are the people that are like, you, Joel or Joel, you're amazing. I like everything you do. You're the number one contender. I love you, right? And that's it. Supporters are the one that go, okay, Joel, I like everything about you. You're cool. Let me get your email and your resume. I'll send it to the recruiter. Or, oh, I mentioned your name during a meeting. I did XYZ, So it's really hard to tell who these people are before you get the job. But what you have to do is, widen your spread and try and meet as many people as you can, because chances are at least one of them is going to be a supporter. And even if it's just one person, singing your praises, that's almost enough to get you into the door most of the time. Let me move this so I can read it. Next is owning your story. Like I said before, I didn't really have confidence in my own story. So I had to really, write everything down, like literally just write it down, get a diary, get a notebook, do it on Word, everything you've done in your life, right? And then make a little column and say, what are the attributes I can attribute to these experiences? So as a gardener, I worked on a team. I was hardworking. I dealt with, variable schedule. I faced customers. I had to make deadlines. These are all things that are applicable to the accounting, world and just business in general, that speak to the qualities of your experience, not so much the experience itself. And like I said before in the breakout rooms, your resume is your paper interview. People don't know who you are, but they'll read your resume and make a quick decision on who you are as a person. And then they'll move on to your LinkedIn, which ideally should be a virtual copy of your resume. And that all kind of teams up with your networking strategy, because they go, wow, I read the reviews. I saw your LinkedIn. I saw the resume. I heard about you. What do you have to say for yourself? You can have a 99 star, resume LinkedIn, but if you get there and you're, choking up on yourself, or you're talking about politics or something crazy and like you're out of line, you're shooting yourself in the foot. So when I talk about, who you are as a person, there are two categories. There's professional and there's personal. Hard facts, GPA, you can change that, but whenever you talk to the people or whenever they request it, that's what it's at that moment. Licenses, awards, work history, these are all things that you've done and they're concrete. I would love to go back and do more as a freshman, sophomore when I didn't know about recruiting, but you take what you can get. Personal and the flavor text is where you get the most, I guess, utility. I did alpha. I never did the board, but I was a mentor. I was a chair for a lot of things. I did Beta Alpha Psi. I'm an Epsilon class pledge. Uh, I volunteered a lot. And these are all the things that recruiters will say is the well-rounded part of a recruit, and that's what they're really looking for, because you can get a 4.0. It's not hard. And if it is, it might be because of outside factors. But whether or not you're good at math, whether or not you're good at, marine biology, which I had to take once, does not matter. Because my job, I'm not cutting open squid and like talking about, the parts. I'm working with a team. I'm following deadlines. I'm taking direction. I'm learning new things. These are all things that are qualitative of my person, not so much my experience. So what is strategy? I like to go broad and then drill down. Oh, let me go back. Ooh. So your theme, your overall theme is what people think of when they hear you. They'll hear Bill Murray. What is that? Luckily for me, it attributes to a famous actor. So I kind of co-opted the goodwill. So that's kind of like a cheat if you can do that, but not anybody can change their name. So what kind of person are you? Who are they hiring? Who are they thinking of? And then, is this an honest representation? I know a lot of people get FOMO and they'll go to Beta Alpha Psi and sell themselves as like, I work 90 hours a week. I'm Mother Teresa on the weekends. I have 4 emails and 2 business phones, one for my friends, one for work, and one for my offshore businesses. But then they get the job and they're expected to be that person, and it's an act. I personally would not want to act a certain way or like portray myself as someone I'm not for 30, 40 years, whatever my, career will be. Hopefully forever. Well, not forever, but until I need to retire. Right? And then we're going to drill down to values. What are these specific attributes? So you might think Bill Murray, cool guy, loves environments, loves people. But what does that mean? So 1 to 4 specific attributes, and this will help you write your resume as well. You're kind of crafting, your whole brand. You are your company. You are your marketing, you're your CEO, you're your CFO. No matter how bad you are with money, sorry to say, you control your own money. So for me, I kind of went with mentorship, hardworking, and personable. And some people might see me and say, Bill is exceptional. His networking skills are different. I can never be that. But to tell you the truth, I wasn't. I came from Cerritos Community College. I was kind of antisocial. And, when I transferred to my Cal State Long Beach, I thought I just got a job at the end of the day. Like you get your diploma and then they hand you a job. I'm like, sick, great. Turns out that's not the case. And you have to improve yourself. You have to improve the way you speak. You have to improve the way you carry yourself. And you actually have to get involved. I'm not saying go change your whole life this instant, but you'll find that the more you do and the more you are involved in, alpha societies and just helping people in general, it'll enrich your lifestyle and you will feel better for it. Right? And ideally, when you're crafting your resume, you're crafting your LinkedIn, or crafting your networking strategy, your 3 words, they might be so nebulous, and you might think, wow, there's so many words in the English language. I don't know which ones to use. Cheat sheet. Go to the companies. They'll have a little like section where they say our values. For RSM, it's the 5 C's: collaboration, caring, all these things. You can drill that down. And even like a bigger cheat sheet, go on your job posting website. And it'll say job description. We're looking for someone who's collaborative, someone who's courageous, caring, blah, 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 blah. Take them. They're words. They don't own them. And finally, we get to organization. And that's just how you present your message once you've crafted it, or at least have the broad scale of what it is. So your elevator pitch is super important. Because again, people don't know who you are. especially now during COVID, you're just a name on a screen, a face in a place, right? So you want to say who you are, where you're at, what you're interested in, and what you're doing. I'm Bill Murray. I'm a senior at Cal State Long Beach. I'll graduate by 2019. I'm interested in audit, but I'm open to pretty much anything else. Right now, I'm doing, alpha. I'm a mentor, but overall, I just enjoy being around the club. And that's enough to get your foot in the door because they know who I am, what my name is, where I am in my CPA journey. So, am I going for internship? Am I going for full time? Going for SLPs? I'm involved. All these things are things that will like put your foot in the door and start the conversation. And did you emphasize what's important? Because I know a lot of people that will meet professionals and get really frustrated and go, I don't know what to say. And then they go, I'm a Libra. My favorite color is maroon. I listen to Incubus and My Chemical Romance, and I probably shouldn't. And you're just like, wow, that told me a whole lot of nothing. I can write that down. I can't tell my recruiter, yeah, this guy listens to My Chemical Romance. I do, not to knock it, but that's not something you want to say when you're trying to network for a job. Okay, so this may seem a little basic to some of you, but this is essentially STAR, which is the general method of responding to interview questions. And it's really good because it sets up who you are, our situation, task, action, result. Who you are, your job, what you did, and the results. And these are basically how you should structure all your responses. But on your resume, notice how there's no like color-coded shape. Because guess what? Your resume tells you their name and your job and your position. So situation's taken care of. So what you want to do is use an action word. I did this, right? And then the yellow is what you actually did. And then always have a result. Because you could do stuff, and that's called like passive experience. I see a lot of, I was in alpha. What'd you do? I attended meetings. What does that do? Like, what does that tell me? You showed up to places? Check off a box. He shows up to places. Good, right? So you need to focus on actionable and, show your ability or at least the qualities you do. And so I kind of ripped this from a couple of resumes that I've seen. So landscaping, this was from my first resume, probably like version 40 of my first resume. But what did I do? I provided landscaping services. And what did I do? To maintain some standard, right? For people who are cashiers, I use the point of sale system, which is the cash register, which is your iPad that you use to take orders. And I did so many transactions in a day, right? People who do VITA, I did so many tax returns and I did quality work, right? And then like the kind of higher level stuff is like, I implemented a green initiative. Maybe you were in alpha and they did a newsletter or they did a new program. Or at my school at Long Beach, I was part of a tutoring program where I was an embedded tutor. And that's kind of what I talked about during my interview. And these are all things that result in like, I would say effective talking points, especially during an interview. Because again, they're going to look at your interview they're going to look at your resume during the interview and then ask you about these things. So everything should be unified in its approach. So don't say, I love caring about my team and I love working with people. And then your resume is like, I just go to work and, I stock shelves. That it's like an inconsistency because you'll find in accounting people like uniformity and aesthetics. So when I look at a resume, my first qualification is, does it look like a resume? Because I know a lot of people will go to like Microsoft Word and they'll have like a bar on the side with their picture and it's like color coded and flowers and stuff like that. If that works, great. But in general, in my experience, it has to look like an accounting resume. And you can find templates, reach out to your board, and just really leverage your support. So now, I've talked about improving your strategy. I've talked about improving networking in general. But this is where we get into, I guess, the crux of it. Don't take it personally. Practice with everybody. Document and sharpen that list I told you to make, right? Because I think a lot of the things that hold us back as students is we're in a childhood mentality, or we just feel like we're not good enough. We all know that one student whose dad is a CPA, or know someone whose cousin is, HR rep for Deloitte, HR rep for KPMG. And we think, wow, who am I? Who am I to do anything? And to be honest and a little personal, I kind of viewed myself as I have no money, I have no connections. As a first gen, I didn't know anything about college, you know? And I think on the broadest scale, I've said this before, I'm average, you know? And a lot of people think that's like a knock. But guess what? 90% of the workforce in America, in the world, are average. Sometimes a little below average. You'd be surprised. And that could either be limiting or empowering. Because guess what? If you're average, you can do 90% of the work. You're qualified, sometimes even overqualified. So don't think, oh, I got a C in this one class. I'm, marked forever. I'll never be able to work in the world again. You know, because guess what? Accounting, the big secret, you don't have to be great at math. Everything's technology. I use Excel. I use VLOOKUPs. And for things I don't know, accounting is an apprenticeship and customer oriented industry. So I came into my job. I didn't even know how to find the support that they emailed to us, right? But, it took me a day, maybe two, to ask questions and find out. So leverage your resources. If you're at school and you don't know what's going on, reach out to your friends, reach out to your, career advisor, reach out to your, teachers, even professors. Some of them are still working in industry. And these are all resources and, capable people. And sometimes, people have an off day, people are busy. Cool. How many people are in your school? How many people are in your group chat? Reach out to as many people as you can, and different people have different insights. Some people walk around the campus and don't say their names, but you know them. They go, ooh, I'm king on the hill. I have an offer. I'm cool, blah, blah, blah. You don't know what they did to get there, and you don't know if it was a fluke. So don't listen to people who say, oh, I did this specific thing. You shouldn't do this. Or, oh, this worked for me. So blah, blah, blah. Always take someone's opinion, verify it. Get a second opinion. Don't sell yourself on someone else's ideals. The most informed decisions are usually the best ones. And that goes for anything, especially recruiting. Talk to as many people as you can and get as many different perspectives. I know somebody who knows only assurance people. Okay, I should probably talk to a senior or a manager because it's different at different levels. It's important to talk to everybody and don't be afraid. Like I said in a lot of previous encounters, everyone you meet is there for recruiting purposes. How would it look if you went to go say hi to a partner and he was like, I don't like you. I don't like the way you look. I don't like what you said. That's just not going to happen. And I kind of break it up into, going from external to personal. External is they're just bad people, and true, there might be a bad egg in there. Who knows? Everyone's human, right? Most of the time, they're not going to turn you away. And if they do, reach out to other people. And it might be, a personality issue with you and their culture. Maybe it's just not a great fit. I'll go into that later. But, on the whole, most people are customer service oriented. They're cool people, so it's going to be pretty hard to find people you don't like. You might not vibe with them 100%, but most people are affable, right? Next is it something you know? Are they going to think you're dumb, right? But guess what? There are no dumb questions. And I mean that sincerely. A personal story. When I started my job, they have like Excel sheets where we do the actual test work. And when we were training, they were all highlighted like, oh, highlight here, put this number here, right? Or, oh, this tab is highlighted. It must be important. Like I'm on Dora or something, right? And they're like, does anybody have any questions? And my dumb question, which wasn't really dumb, was, yeah, who makes the highlights for the work? Because I just assumed that everyone would highlight the work for you and you just kind of fill in the blanks. Turns out, no. Last week I was making the highlights for the intern. And I was like, wow, look at me. I'm learning like on the job and I'm doing what I thought I didn't have to do, right? So you're constantly evolving, constantly growing as a person. And, everyone thinks, oh, maybe this experience or this opportunity, I can let it go. Next semester, next week, next month. It's fine. I don't need to do it. Guess what? You missed out. The door of opportunity opens ever so slowly. And you don't want to be the person that's like, I'm waiting for the right fit. I'm waiting for an open window to jump through. But guess what? The window only opens for a couple of people sometimes. And other times it's a crack and you have to jam your hand in there and rip it open and make the opportunity for yourself. So don't silo yourself off because you want to limit yourself or because you may feel, there have been times where I had to go to recruiting events like this as a student. And I thought, man, have like another 3 episodes of this anime, or maybe I'll start watching One Piece and spend the next 30 years watching One Piece. But no, I had to get up, put my big boy pants on, go to the place, and talk to people I was unfamiliar with, who I was personally intimidated by, because they were so much more experienced. Some of you might see me now running this workshop and think, wow, Bill is so refined and so cool and like very small ego. That guy's so humble. I was a student last year. Before November, I was fun employed. I was kind of waiting for the job to start. And, I'm very realistic. And most people I've met are similarly minded. I'm just here and that's my job. But as a person, I'm the same person. And what else did I want to say? And then the super personal level, which I think is the most important. Yeah, let's jump to that slide. The most important level is yourself, your self-esteem. Do you think you're done? Do you think you're missing some quality? And guess what? The answer might be yes. You might be missing some quality. But as a human, you have the agency and the ability to change. That's what separates us from, animals or crazy people. We realize there's an issue and we can seek, I don't want to say recompense, it's probably not the right word, but a resolution to any of the problems. So when I went to my community college, I said what and what, que, holla, hella, all these words that aren't, traditional business language. And I realized, wow, my English skills are inefficient. They're not up to par. My grammar sucks. So what did I do? I went to the ESL classes they offered for free. I learned English, even though I was technically bilingual, but I sought the resources that were there. I made myself better. And pro tip: download Grammarly. Don't pay for the premium version, but they have like a free thing where it'll highlight your errors. It won't tell you what the errors are, but in general, it'll say like misuse of a comma, misuse of a word, wordy sentence. And what I did over my 2 years at community college and Long Beach was I'd write something down, raw, put it into Grammarly, see the highlights, and go, okay, I have an issue with semicolons. So every time I write something with a semicolon, I double check to make sure. Or I do comma and, or I just do and I have to double check and make everything better. Because guess what? Everything you do is pretty much alive on the internet forever. You might send an email, you might post a tweet that felt really good and passionate at the time, but will that reflect kindly on you in the future? If someone Googles you, if someone finds your LinkedIn, checks your email on Google, finds your stuff, and, is it the person you're portraying now? Don't, guilt yourself for the past. Because I was there, 2008, swoopy hair, studded belt, everything. You can't find that online. It just lives in the, nightmare that I remember. But it's all about crafting your message, becoming confident. And one of the most important things that was told to me is that you may feel a certain way about your ability or about your, background, but eventually the evidence will mount that you aren't in fact dumb, that you aren't in fact deficient in some way. Some of you are here today on a Saturday at a networking workshop. Some of you are first generation students. Some of you are learning English this year or last year, right? These are all achievements that most people don't do, and most people don't have the opportunity to do, right? So eventually there'll be a flip where you go, man, I'm nobody. And then it flips and you go, wait, I'm working for RSM. I'm a mentor to students. I'm here speaking at CSUN, a school I didn't even go to. I spoke at USC. Wow, things are going well. My life is good. Hence, I'm decent, or at least I should be pretty good. I'm not saying blow yourself up and, turn into riffraff. I want to get big and forget I know nobody, right? And I love this quote by Alexander Pope, because it is, to err is human, to forgive divine. As all of us younger people and returning students, we look at our parents and realize, wow, everyone who's an adult and most professionals, they don't have everything figured out. We're all just kind of stumbling through, trying our best. And that's kind of what you have to hold yourself to. Stumble through, try your best. If you fail, forgive yourself, move on. Dwelling on a failure is not going to make you any better. Reach out to people. And if things didn't go well, it's fine. I've had a lot of stale conversations. I've had conversations with people I thought, man, I really hated coming here. Oh, I'm wasting my time, right? but they informed my decisions and conversation skills for the future. So it's always worth having, right? And one thing I really want to emphasize is don't be like an Instagram, inspirational quote. I don't want to have you sit here and think, wow, so inspiring. Wow, I feel empowered. And then after lunch, take a nap, eat some chips, do nothing. I really sincerely hope you make a list, write down everything you need to write down, and start taking the steps that are here. Right? I'll send this PowerPoint if they want it. But yeah, networking is labor of love. Practice makes perfect. And does anybody have any questions? And I think Joel, I guess, will mediate. Essen.
Yeah, if anyone wants to ask a question, they could you could type it in the chat, or you could just unmute yourself. Just feel free.
I think I have to stop sharing to see the chat. Okay. Hi, Bill. I don't think we have been in the office. I'm a senior admin in the LA office. Great. Dope. Send me a fast feedback. I don't know how that works yet, but any good press is good press. And yeah. Oh, sorry, that was direct. Oops.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So first, I just want to say very captivating presentation. Thank you so much. And I just want to know what the value of, I've heard of this networking across, which is like really getting to know your peers, and because we're the future and everything. Have you seen like value in that in any way?
Yeah, just knowing anybody, especially your peers, it's super valuable, because who's going to know more about your experiences than someone at your level? I reach out to associates I started with in November, and they've been working different clients, and I go, man, what's an APS form? What is this like acronym? And they tell me straight up. And I'm like, great. I didn't have to bother my senior. I didn't have to bug someone for something I could have figured out. And just in general, and you never know where people end up. The one thing I like about RSM is they're super honest. Accounting turnover happens, and people will do things. You don't know if someone's going to work with you one day and then go start their own company and be the next Jeff Bezos, or start their own firm and be the job you're going to end up in 40 years, or maybe be a client. So the more people you know and the more experience you have in your network, the better you can leverage everything.
Thank you.
Do we have any more questions for Bill? Yeah, Raymond.
Hi, first of all, once again, echoing Justin, Bill, that was one of the best presentation about networking that I've had, hands down. My question is, I think you mentioned earlier that you started with RSM like recently. What does RSM did in terms of like supporting you getting your CPA or anything like that? Like, I just want to get to know your personal experience with that.
So I was going to start my CPA beforehand. Well, I guess to start it off, they gave me Becker, right? And they gave me the option to do the 9 months or the unlimited. Me being, very utilitarian, I thought, man, what happens if something happens and I can't do it in 9 months? So I picked unlimited. Luckily, when I started trying to take my exams, COVID happened. So I was like, oh, good job, But as far as like being in the firm, they offer time off specifically for studying. They'll reimburse you for, I believe, your first tests, your check to the state. And overall, it's just a really good community. There's a woman named Michelle Huang who's a manager, and she sends weekly emails of people who have passed their tests, who are in the process, and just facilitates that conversation that makes it okay, because everyone wants their CPA, and nothing helps better than to reach out to someone else and go, man, I don't know what this is on FAR. And they go, oh, I took that last week. What question? What problem? And it's just building that community within RSM.
Awesome. Do we have any more questions? Gabriella, do you want to ask?
Yes. Hi, Bill. Like everyone said, that was very, very inspiring, and I really, really appreciate a great presentation. I myself classify myself as Latina, and diversity is something that's very important to me. And you kind of shared that with us as well, coming, from Los Angeles and let's say a poor school or neighborhood. How important was that for you when you were recruiting, that the firm also emphasized diversity?
Yeah, so one of the things that really drew me into RSM was their kind of just their overall culture. You know, I knew a guy, Joel Izaguirre, who I interned at a company he worked for prior. And I talked to him before I started recruiting for RSM. I asked him like, "Oh, what are the resources?" And he goes, "Bill, you love Alpha. We have 11 ENGs, you know, African American Canadian. They're together for some reason. I'm not sure, but we have Inspiration. We have Star for women, just every level, you know." And they put their money where their mouth is. You know, every time I've spoken to someone about an ENG, they're super passionate. They know about it, and they're usually trying to do an event, or they say, "Did you check your email? Did you do this?" And overall, they're just super connected. And I can attest personally to my current job. I'm working for a consumer products company that owns a bunch of gas stations. And my in charge was an experienced hire. He's like 25, 26, Asian American. My manager on the job, he's from Syria. You know, he came from Syria to Florida, made it to LA, made it to RSM. And, you know, they have a wealth of information. He was even a professor prior. So like even now I poke fun. I'm like, "Oh, you want me to do this? Okay, thank you, professor." Or, "Oh, is this work paper done? Man, I hope he curves." You know? So it's just meeting these people that you never would have met otherwise, you know, and building that rapport and building that network and knowing that what you know now is just the start and you never know who you're going to meet.
Great. These have been some awesome questions that have been asked. Thanks for everyone willing to speak up. Is there any other questions that anyone might have? Okay, well, there is a lot of questions anyway. Oh, Omar, perfect.
Yeah, hi Bill. Thank you for taking the time to talk to us today. You mentioned a lot of great tips for things we should do while networking. Do you have any good tips for things we maybe should be careful for, maybe things we shouldn't do while networking?
So one of the things I always see is that my biggest catchphrase is make sure you treat everyone you meet as your most professional best friend, right? So best friend part is just, you know, casualness and interaction, just the naturalness. But remember the professional part. Don't go there saying, you know, I'm a Libra, or, "Oh, you know, I really hate X and X, Y about politics or money," or something like that. Or, "Oh, I bought a bunch of GameStop stuff and it didn't work out," and then use an expletive or any bad words. You know, just because you're casual doesn't mean you have to be super casual. You know, I'd say polo instead of t-shirt is the word.